Sometimes it can be difficult to find positivity in the social media space. I'm always in search of those special people who are shining a light. And William Yank's message of hope and his commitment to uplift others is exactly that. I've followed William from afar, and I was so excited to have the opportunity to connect with him for this conversation.
When our good friends at LLS connected us with William, we jumped at the opportunity. We were immediately taken by his captivating positivity and look forward to watching him carry his message of hope for many years to come. Listeners, 3-time leukemia survivor and champion for change, William Yank. William, thank you so much for being with us today. We're so excited to bring this conversation kind of full circle and be able to really connect with you on here and give an opportunity to really share your story and your experience with the Project 44 and Finding 44 audience, but just to kind of understand how things are going and where you've been and, you know, where we're headed as well. So thank you for being here. Can you start just kind of, let's talk through. So you are a leukemia survivor and we're so happy that you are. So talk to us about your journey with that. How did it start? How did you discover this disease and what did your fight look like?
If we walk back to 2018, the great year of 2018, why was it a great year? I'm not really sure, but it was the year that I got diagnosed. Summer of that year, I was in between my summer of my junior and senior year of college. I was doing an internship out in Washington, D.C. And during that experience, I got a really bad cold, really bad sore throat. I was like, what is going on here? And kind of played it off. I was 21 years old, track athlete in college. I really didn't have any health issues or comorbidities or anything like that up to that point. And so just kind of wrote it off and laid in bed for a few days, only to find out from urgent care that they told me I had mono. And I was like, okay, I've kissed a few people in my day. I think that's probably fair. And so walking back into that, they gave me some magic mouthwash and kind of sent me on my way. Only to lay in bed for the next probably about 5 days, continuing to get progressively worse. And later that more or less week, getting sent into an ER, the roommate that I had out in Washington, D.C. got me into an ER and I was diagnosed with leukemia and an MSSA infection, septic shock. I was pretty much told, or my mother was told, that I had a 14% chance to live and she needed to prepare funeral preparations for me in case I didn't make it. So I was on the East Coast at the time. She's here in Indiana. She drove the 10-hour drive in the middle of the night to Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. By the time that I was then, keep in mind I'm in DC, it's like a 45-minute drive up the East Coast to Baltimore. By the time I'm in Baltimore, my mother has already beat me there, has a plan established, is ready to go. And we started treatment. So and then over the next 3 years, I went in and out of remissions and relapses. My body did not respond well to traditional chemo protocol. And so we ended up using CAR T cell therapy through this new age treatment, I guess. They just modify your T cells to attack the leukemia. That put me into remission for 6 months. And then fast forward to the first relapse, I took another CAR T cell dose. It put me into remission again for about 2 or 3 months. And then I relapsed again, from which I had to get a stem cell transplant for my sister to put me into the remission that I am in now, which has been about 5 years.
William, when you have a 14% chance, or rather you are told that you have a 14% chance of surviving, and then you have these relapses and these challenges, what kept you optimistic, or where did you find the strength at those various points of your journey?
A little bit of reality and the community around me, I guess. One, felt so very lucky to have the support system that I did, from family to family friends, people that were just willing to be around, take care of me, as well as like the Ullman Foundation in Baltimore, giving me a place to live and get treatment with the doctors and nurses that had saved my life the first time. So I figured, why couldn't they save it again? So that was really reassuring and confirming for me. the second thing I would say, the reality piece, I think there comes a form of acceptance in these situations that you have to take. And that was with the help of a therapist that I had throughout that whole treatment process. My mom runs a mental health hospital and organization and connected me with one immediately as I got diagnosed. And we became best buds. And he just helped me kind of understand what was going on and accept the reality of the situation, which allowed me mentally to just kind of remain in a place of optimism and belief in that things could turn out well, and not so much a doom and gloom, or as he puts it, your Aunt Ninny, doom and gloom aspects of that. So I really appreciated that encouragement from him.
When you reflect back and you talked about the great year of 2018, and you think about 2018 to present day, can you take me to your lowest point and your highest point
of 2018?
Just in that entire stretch of time, across your journey of these last 7 years now.
I would say highest point of time was obviously now that I'm in remission and stuff, and I had my 5 years on February 7th of this year, which is super awesome. The relevance of that is just your likelihood of relapse significantly drops at 5 years. So that's super awesome and fun. The other high point I would say before I even got sick was just the excitement that I had around my life at that time. I just had a lot going for me at the time. I was doing well in school, had an internship out in DC, just turning 21, super exciting. Had just got signed on to do modeling. I know that now I look at that as very like surface level of life. But
no, but that's exciting. I mean, like it's just an exciting, like cool new opportunity, right? Like that you're like at this pivotal time of like young adulthood, right? When feel like you have everything like at your grasp, right? It's these cool opportunities to explore new things. This internship, you're in a new city, you've got this opportunity to do some modeling, challenge yourself, do all of that.
Precisely. And in the best health of my life and everything like that, I was just like cloud 11. Like, this is great. Lowest point was probably, I don't know. Over the last 7 years, my lowest point, I mean, maybe that initial diagnosis and just not really understanding what was going on. But I probably got even lower after the second relapse, because I just remember that you get to a point where you start to like run out of options and you start like, okay, like what are we going to do here? Clearly I'm not responding to this form of treatment. This form of treatment hasn't worked for me either. Where are we going to end up? Hence my appreciation for the type of work that like Project 44 does, is because, when you have something like a transplant, as my oncologist put it, that's bringing out the big guns, more or less. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not relying on traditional, forms of treatment anymore. Like, this transplant is, an organ change, literally. And so that was, I would say, when I found out I was relapsed for the second time, I vividly remember I was at school. I was a week into my final year of college, my senior year. I'd just gotten back. I was pumped in that second remission. I was like, we're going to finish school. Life is ahead of me. Woohoo. Literally that second week I was there, I had gotten scans the week before. They told me my cancer was back. I packed all my stuff in my car, drove home, and within 48 hours, we were on a flight back to Hopkins to start that treatment process. And the reason I remember it so well is because I got pulled over for going 95 in a 55 on my way home. And the cop could tell something was up. And he was just like, are you like, okay? And I kind of explained my situation, and God love him, he left me off. He's just like, just slow down, man. Like I understand, like, you got a lot going on, but just take it easy. And I was like, oh, I appreciate that. So, not my proudest moment, but I didn't get reckless driving, so I appreciate that. And so, that was probably be my lowest moment.
William, you talked about, the two relapses and the traditional treatment and kind of the big guns of the transplant. You're exactly right. For Project 44, we talk often about the fact that a bone marrow or blood stem cell transplant is the last hope kind of, it's the Hail Mary of exhausted all the other treatment options. Yep. And this is the only chance for a life-saving cure at that point. Talk to us about like what was the timeline like and kind of the steps that were involved in your sister finding out that she was a match, and kind of emotionally, what was that experience like for the both of you and your whole family really at that point?
I was reflecting on that, and I was thinking about, so lowest point being that second relapse. Mm-hmm. Walking into the stem cell transplant process, it is hard to have hope in any way, shape, or form, because you're just like, okay, I'm going to, obviously they're going to test your family first, ideally, if you have siblings or have that opportunity to. And so if that doesn't work, we are going to the registry, and just as a cancer patient, they have that conversation with you early on anyways. They're just like, hey, if we go onto this registry, we're going to be searching for a donor for you. There needs to be a lot of things that kind of line up. The stars kind of have to align in the situation for this donor to be a match for you, blood types, etc., for us to move forward with this. And so you're like, oh, great. Love that. I mean, you're just giving me, so much excitement about this new process. Let alone on top of that, you also need to be in a specific level of MRD. So minimum residual disease, your MRD level will tell you how much leukemia, et cetera, is in your body. And at the time, my doctors told me they needed to get me low enough of an MRD level to allow me to do the transplant. So what that looked like was another roughly, I was probably in Baltimore, I don't know how many months it was, 2, 3, 4 months of chemo cocktails we were trying, immunotherapies we were trying, just to get me back to that level to where it was safe to do the transplant. That brought another whole level of fear, because I was like, crap, if I can't even get to start the treatment, I'm not even going to be able to get the transplant in the first place. It's like, what am I going to do? So I was really frustrated and upset about that. And then once we finally got me to the position, it was really just trying different forms of protocols to just try to get me down low enough for us to be able to start that. And we finally did. And then on top of that, they're also going to just blast you with chemo for the first 7 days of that, plus radiation. So there was still a whole, mountain to climb after that. But in regards to finding out that my sister was a match, so my sister was a 50-50 match for me, haploid identical stem cell transplant that we did. Johns Hopkins pioneered that treatment. Shout out to them. We appreciate that. But more or less, they allow you to do a stem cell transplant even though you're only half match, which is awesome. Under that same vein, you could say, I was super appreciative of my sister. I also had some very serious conversations with my sister around that. So a burden that my sister carried was the fear that, as me being her brother, if it didn't work out and I passed away, her having that grief laid on her, right? Mm-hmm. That she feel like she failed me. Yeah. That was a really hard conversation that we had to process through. The second thing is the patient side of things. It was a realization that it was a selfish realization that I was like, oh, great, I have this opportunity. Like, I've been through so much crap in the last 3 years. This is the least my sister could do for me. So transparently, I was a little bit of a jerk about it. And my sister would agree with that. I was like, I've died almost like 3 times this past year. This is the least you can do. Just throw some blood at me and let's just call it a day.
The conversations and dynamic that only siblings can appreciate, right?
That's right. That's right.
End up with the utmost appreciation and indebtment to her at the end of the day. But then also you're like, this could have been you. Okay. You could kind of share this burden.
Yeah. And God love her. She's terrified of needles. So I was just like, oh gosh, this is killing me. And lo and behold, she went through the whole process for me. But on the patient side, it's a blessing. It gives you hope. It's exciting. Outside of the conversations that are difficult, if you have a family member or sibling doing it for you, if you're on the registry or something like that, you're not going to know that person or have that connection with that individual. I don't even know. I heard it's not even for many years after that, in case they can't hunt you down and find you. Be like, you killed my family member. So I understand that. I get it. But more or less, on the patient side, it's actually really easy. it's just like any other infusion that I would get. I got it through I can't remember if I had a Port or Hickman line at that time in my chest. But it was just like any other infusion that I got of the cells. Trying to remember anything really crazy. We made a TikTok with the song Staying Alive with me, my sister, and my dad and mom, because we were all in the hospital bed while I was getting the infusion. So yeah, that was pretty fun.
Isn't that wild that you're literally getting an organ transplant while you're awake, lucid, making TikTok videos? I mean, I think it's the only organ transplant that you can do that with. I'm not certain, but yeah, that's pretty wild. Did you, knowing that she was a 50% match, did they also look on the registry for a stronger match for you, or were they like, this is going to be good enough?
In my mind, how I'm remembering it, it felt like they did do that, only because I know they were looking for something, like you're saying, Chrissy, something stronger, something more certain, more or less. And if I remember correctly, because it was taking me so long to get into that position, like we knew that my sister was a 50-50 match, and I think they were still looking at the registry as I was just trying to get that MRD number down. And so once I was able to achieve that, they were just like, listen, we don't know if he's going to be able to maintain this position in his health. Let's just get it done. And so they got me and my sister in, and we just started treatment. But yeah, I do vaguely remember being or thinking that we had looked into the registry as well. And I was hopeful for something better. One, to relieve my sister of that grief potential, and just to have that certainty. You know, if there was a 100% match out there, like, feels like no brainer to me.
You referenced the TikTok, and you have just done such an incredible job. And I'm going to give people a little bit of a backstory that I actually have been following you on Instagram for years because of a mutual friend who, met you, and she shared Dana Matus. Shout out to Dana, who was like, you've got to follow him. He's incredible. You're going to love his story. And so I'd been following you for so long and watching your entire journey unfold, but you have been so candid and so transparent in sharing all of these things on social media, the good and the bad. I mean, you referenced the TikTok from a hospital bed.
Yeah.
I guess first, what prompted you to want to be, very, forward with this and take this to social media? And then what has been the response that you've seen?
Yes. Yeah. So 2018 was around, I feel like TikTok was getting popular for a lot of people. I was like, I don't want to add one more social media platform that I have to kind of play with. Now, previously, before TikTok, before I even got sick, I was trying to make it big on YouTube. I thought I had a future as a vlogger. So I got a Canon G7X point and shoot camera. I taught myself how to edit videos in Premiere Pro. And then I made videos for almost a year and a half of just college experiences. That bred itself well into, once TikTok came out, any patient probably understands being bored. You just get curious, you get bored, and then all of a sudden started creating content and things like that. And at first I wasn't really sure how much I wanted to share, but realizing how much great dark humor me and my family had, I was like, it only makes sense to just share this with folks. I was also inspired when I was really going through the throes of the initial diagnosis, early on in the process. There was a motivational speaker who was actually a former Tennessee football player and one of my probably role models and idols in my life. His name's Inky Johnson. He's a Tennessee cornerback. Yep.
He's incredible.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I used to listen to his speeches on repeat as I just did my track workouts and things like that growing up. And so his voice came to my head immediately when I was in the middle of this diagnosis. And one of the things that he says is, why not me? And, why not use this opportunity to help other people and leave, I'm paraphrasing right now, but leave the place better than I found it. And so my role then, or my goal after that, was like, how can I share this story in a meaningful, vulnerable way that just lets people know what's going on? And I feel like up to that point, not a lot of cancer patients had been too vocal about that experience. And so I was like, what better way to just share that with people? And I had a lot of people reaching out anyways, just curious about how I was doing. And so that also took a little bit of weight off of me, feeling like I had to tell everybody or text everybody individually what was going on with updates. I could just post a video and they'd be like, okay, he's alive, clearly. We can take a breath of fresh air. So
it's like a modern day phone tree.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
So you did your TED Talk as kind of the entree into public speaking, which has since kind of evolved from there. And you've created a platform for yourself in this public speaking space and I think that a career as a vlogger is still on the table. Do not, don't take that off yet. I think you have a lot of potential to achieve that.
Not to mention the modeling career, too.
I mean, it's all on the table. But so public speaking in general and kind of the stump speech you've developed around a message of hope. Talk to us about that and kind of the content of how your stories evolved onto the stage.
6 months after I get diagnosed, the TEDx group reached out to do a talk at my former college. Now, that was a full circle moment for me because I was the co-head of marketing the inaugural year that we put that event on at our college. So I helped kind of build that program at Wabash College, which was super awesome. And they were like, you have to come speak, they said. I was like, okay. Now, again, 6 months into my diagnosis, I had zero idea what was going on. I was like just trying to swallow what had happened to me. And though I'm in this remission, I built that speech, and more or less it's about the pretty much how emotional acceptance can help you cure cancer or survive in situations. And I just talked through some stories and experiences that we had, myself and my family. Now, how that's evolved is that got picked up, and with the little bit of TikTok excitement that happened, organizations reached out, nonprofits reached out, which is how I got connected with Leukemia Lymphoma Society. I did work with the NFL, American Cancer Society, Walgreens, etc. Love Your Melon, all these organizations, and we're doing posts with them and speaking at their events and things like that. And then I just realized that I had a love for it, a knack for it, which evolved into really a more formalized focus into the career path of professional speaking, public speaking. And I just wrapped up the Professional Speaking Academy via the National Speaking Association in April. And there we did a showcase where we were expected to come up with a more of a capstone project, more or less, of our keystone or our keynote speech. And that has bred into, like you said, Chrissy, hope, more or less. And I've just started to flesh out what that means to me. More or less in that capstone project, I share what people need in their lives in order to have more healthy and meaningful lives. Whenever people ask what I do, I say that I work with people and organizations who desire to develop the skills to build more healthy and meaningful lives. That's my goal. And what that looks like is having something to hope for in the future, putting something in your hope in the present, and reflecting on the things that you most hoped had not happened to you. That's where you learn, reflect, and gain wisdom on the things that you've experienced, and take those lessons into your life. And so that has what is born out of this whole experience, and I'm hoping to take that further here in the near future as I get my website established and continue to market myself in that way. So yeah.
What an incredible message. And going back to the LLS piece, that's how you and I got connected initially. And I know you've been an ambassador for them for quite a while now, and Project 44 has just recently kind of entered into a partnership with LLS, and we're super excited to kind of get that off the ground and explore lots of ways to support each other. But talk to us a little bit more about what your role with LLS specifically has been, and ways that kind of you've been plugged in to their orbit.
More jack of all trades, speaker when needed, usable body as well, face, name whenever they need it. I've done a number of things with them. They still have this old commercial that we need to get updated, of me and my, like, in the middle. It was right after my stem cell transplant when I finally came home. They asked me to pretty much record all these phone videos of me now and my story and things like that. And it's literally a headphone video, kind of like we're in right now. And yeah, that commercial still airs. I just thought about that. And I get texts randomly from people like, oh my gosh, I just saw you on the Hallmark channel. I don't know what you're doing there. Or like, just saw you on the TLC channel. Like, what are you doing? I'm just like, don't worry about it. So yeah, and then I speak with them, and then I've also advocated with them as well. So I went to DC last year, went on Capitol Hill and spoke with senators, representatives, et cetera, just about some bills that their Dare to Dream project was trying to get passed. And so that was a super cool experience. I've never lobbied in that way before. Totally recommend just to try it one time. It's really cool. And yeah, so I've also just spoken at their events. I've emceed events before for them. Anything that's in that speaking realm, I've kind of touched that bucket.
Having such vast experiences now and being able to do so many different things, but then also find the reach and the impact that all of these different avenues and mediums can have, what excites you most, moving forward, and how can everyone, follow this journey with the work you're doing in tandem with Leukemia Lymphoma Society?
Getting involved with organizations like Project 44 and anyone that kind of touches the cancer space, hospitals, research clinics. I mean, it can be anything and everything. My goal or my vision moving forward is really to connect with the young adult space, whether that be high schools and colleges and universities in all aspects. Just because that not only was the age that I was diagnosed, but also an age where I feel like our minds are very formative and easily melded or molded, and so would just like to impact that group as much as I can. What that looks like moving forward, Laura, and I appreciate you asking that, would be continued speaking opportunities. I have a vision for creating a company or organization called Ill Inspirations. There was a podcast that I did with my really good friend, cancer friend Roni, called The Illest. It's still out there. You can go check it. It has like 50 some episodes. But that was our cancer podcast pretty much while we were both kind of just going through the throes of things. And we talk and touch, I mean, any subject to sex, drugs, and money. I mean, we talk about it all. So that kind of inspired me to try to build a organization or company called Ill Inspirations, from which I would like to have different things come from it: a podcast, a book, speaking opportunities, a nonprofit that provides young adults with resources, other speakers. I love merch. I've always done merch with my YouTube stuff, and people also love that merch and buy that stuff. So shout out if you do that. And so I'd love to do that as well. I just envision a bunch of little branches, real estate as one, where I create something similar to the Ullman Foundation in another state, like near MD Anderson in Texas or something like that, because the Ullman Foundation was so impactful to me there as well. So it's a grand vision. It's huge.
Yeah.
But we're just working on the speaking piece at this time.
With that group that you're kind of identifying, obviously, with young adults, you feel pretty invincible, at that point in your life in a lot of ways.
Got that complex.
Yeah. For anyone, who's maybe listening to this, like, what is maybe one bit of advice or something that you would want for someone to share, with those young adults, of just like the importance of like your message and your story and maybe how they can connect?
I feel like the world right now is very hopeless. From anytime you turn on the news, there's just so much negativity. We're all in kind of these echo chambers, we're all comparing ourselves. I mean, it's all stuff we've all heard before. It's not new. But I would really encourage people to take time to reflect and look at themselves. And I would highly encourage them to, like I was saying, find something that you can hope for, hope in, and then reflect on your past experiences, because that is what's going to get you to move forward. And if you have any chance or ability to look at yourself in the mirror and accept what's currently happening to you, the reality of your situation, however hard that may seem and difficult that may look, that will allow you to actually take the first step to move forward. Because if you don't take that first step forward, you're going to stay in the same place or move backwards, which is never fun.
I love that so much. And, I think I would add to that too, again, from Project 44's perspective and our mission of saving lives through bone marrow transplant. It just so happens also that young adult population is the target demographic for recruitment for the registry, because they have the densest, richest, purest marrow. And kind of our vision is inspiring a culture of yes. So in tandem with your message of, kind of under being hopeful and getting clear about, the things that you can do to generate that hope, and that message of hope in your own life, I think there's also an opportunity to really inspire action from that too, and to be a source of hope for other people and say, hey, guess what? Not only do you have all of this to be, grateful for and hopeful for on both ends, of that spectrum, but you can also be an active participant in providing and generating that for other people. And I think, to your point of it feeling like a hopeless time right now, giving people an actionable way to participate in changing that for themselves and other people. I'm probably biased in my opinion on that, but I think that's that population that we're dependent on. It's the young adults who have got to start changing things for the rest of us. So I think that population makes so much sense and has so much potential in lots of ways, on both sides of feeling hope and giving hope as well. Okay, last question here that we ask all of our guests, and you may have thought about this, you may have not, but the spirit animal, the mascot, you did mention kind of a mascot of Project 44 is the moose. So Andrew Smith, our inspiration, his nickname was the Moose. He was this big, gentle giant, and brought that kind of clear, present energy. And so that's kind of the energy that we try to pull with us into the work that we do. And we are curious what you think your spirit animal would be.
Based on the overwhelming reviews that I've gotten from people, you can't tell in this image right now, I'm actually 6'7", so I'm very tall, and that is a constant conversation for me. So I would say the giraffe would have to be my spirit animal. I have been called that more than I can count. I'm just a slender guy, probably similar to the moose, but yeah, that would be me. The giraffe would be my answer.
I love that. I also really quickly have a follow-up. Going back to the conversation surrounding your dynamic with your sister and obviously her involvement with your treatment. Is there any way that you guys commemorate together these milestones, or do you have a way that you guys celebrate kind of each year or, each milestone in your journey together?
Yeah, we've had a few cool ways to kind of memorialize that. One, have you guys ever seen the old cartoon, The Wonder Twins?
Yes.
Our dad, actually, and the Wonder Twins, for those that don't know, it's the twins, and they have rings, and when they put the rings together, they get superpowers. And my dad had made on necklaces the ends of the rings for each of us. And so I have a W Wonder Twin necklace, and my sister has a C for her name, Caroline. And so that's a really cool way that we wear it all the time. So that's a way we commemorate that. Two, yearly. So my 5 years, we just had a big party with all the people that were involved in that experience, which was really nice. And then yearly, typically she and I will just go out privately for ice cream or something and just talk things over and just kind of update each other on life. And it's small, but it's meaningful. And we definitely try to find ways to celebrate each year, regardless. So yeah.
That is so beautiful. I love that.
Well, William, thank you so much again for your time today and sharing your story and all the advocacy that you're doing for cancer in general, for young adults, for LLS, for Project 44. Obviously our mission doesn't work without people like you and your incredible stories and willingness to help inspire that movement forward, the hope and the action. So we just thank you so much. And we are really excited to see your next speaking, your podcast, the business, ill inspirations, the merch drop. Make sure to let us know when that happens. We'll snag some swag. And Thank you.
Yeah, really quickly too, before we let you go, where can everyone, follow you? All of your platforms, TikTok, all of those things.
Yes. If you have any need to find me, which you may, and if you do, reach out because I'll typically always answer. But literally my name, William Yank. You can find it anywhere. Just Google it. You'll find my stuff. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Yeah, it's there. So just find me, type my name, and you'll see a bunch of stuff come up.
Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Thank you for sharing everything that you do. And so excited to follow the next steps in your journey and all these opportunities that are on the horizon for you and this beautiful mission of hope and this vision that you have.
Thank you so much for your guys' time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Finding 44. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Follow Project 44's mission at project44.org and find us on social media at